On a busy street, in a busy neighborhood, stands an unassuming white house. To a passerby, it blends right in. But what's been going on inside for more than 20 years isn't what you would consider ordinary.
I'm like really shocked about this. Really shocked.
Robert Bailey is a college student and rents out one of the apartments upstairs. He says he was told there's a doctor's office downstairs. And that's true, it's just not the whole truth. CBS 6 has learned this doctor treats violent sex offenders, dozens of them who are on parole and probation.
They hang out on the porch all the time, and like I had no idea. So it's kind of like awkward now that I think about it.
Adam DeFrancisco rents the other apartment in the house. He had no idea what kind of treatment was happening here either.
There's no signs out front. I mean, there's nothing saying like, hey, this is where sex offenders come for rehabilitation. So it's not really advertised that well. Like I'd walk by, honestly, and I think it's just a regular house.
And it's not just that this sex offender treatment center is unmarked. It sits on Western Avenue, just a block away from the LaSalle School, a residential treatment center for adolescent boys. Right next to the College of St. Rose, right across the street from an Episcopal church, which provides music lessons to middle school-aged kids every week. And directly in front of St. Catherine's Center for Children, an elementary school serving kids who've been abused, neglected, or homeless.
The kids come out of there every day, and these guys are coming in and out every day, or who else? And, it's kind of scary to think because they can just walk right out of the backyard or right around the corner.
Bill Getman runs St. Catherine's.
There's been this place operating in front of the school for many years now. Did you have any idea what it was?
No, the facility of the home over there, the location, the office has been very quiet. All I care about is making sure our staff and kids are safe.
In fact, none of the schools that surround this center knew it was there, but the federal, state, and county government did. They've been sending some of the most violent sex offenders here for treatment for years. The federal probation department didn't want to go on camera, but told me over the phone that for years they've had a contract to send sex offenders to Forensic Mental Health Associates, which is the name of the business according to official paperwork, although it's not visible anywhere. When I asked whether they were aware of its proximity to schools, I was told, quote, "We don't care where it is as long as it's licensed." Well, the doctor who runs the practice is licensed, but when I called Albany City Codes to see whether she needed or was ever granted a permit to be doing this type of treatment in the middle of a neighborhood, Codes looked up the file and then issued this cease and desist order. Turns out the proper permits were not in place and haven't been for years to be operating any business in this location. Dr. Bianca Schaefer runs the practice. She took it over when her husband passed away last year.
We're on Channel 6. We're just wondering if the doctor is available.
We tried to reach her on several occasions, but she wouldn't take our calls.
Do you know how we can get in touch with her about a story we're working on?
Bianca, Channel 6 News working on a story. I don't know how we can get in touch with you.
She took my card, I never heard back. But the bigger question is for those who spent taxpayer money to contract with a practice that, one, brings sex offenders to the middle of a residential neighborhood for treatment, and two, doesn't even have the proper permits to do it.
They shouldn't be in them areas, and we have to make sure that this company that we're dealing with is licensed to be there, that everything's legit, and I can assure you that we're gonna follow through on this.
Shouldn't that have happened before you entered into an agreement with them?
I agree, but this is a long-term agreement. This is goes back to my predecessor, so this goes back to me even before I became county executive. They've been dealing with this organization for many years, so I'm going to address that now, though.
So you personally weren't aware of the proximity of this center to the schools?
Correct. I was not aware of the, I can tell you my passion for protecting our children, if I was aware of it, I would have addressed it sooner.
McCoy says he's working with Dr. Schaefer on the paperwork issues, and he's asking her to move the county offenders to another site, one that's not in the middle of a bustling neighborhood full of kids and college students.
So you're saying to me right now that you're going to make sure those sex offenders go to the other location?
Absolutely.
Now, again, we want to reiterate, Dr. Schaefer is licensed to be conducting this type of treatment. The issue comes down to where she is practicing it. And technically, had the right permits been in place, there's nothing that says a sex offender treatment center can't be in the middle of a neighborhood. But because of the codes issues that we first brought to light during this investigation, we've learned that this practice has moved, at least temporarily, to another location, one that is not anywhere near a place where children might congregate. Now, we mentioned that the feds have been contracting with this practice. They are currently coming to an end of that contract and will reevaluate whether to re-sign. The state tells me they are no longer sending offenders to this practice. Jennifer Lukey, CBS 6 News.